The question is that this bill be now read a second time. I call the member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. I rise to speak on the health legislation of Bill number 2, introduced by the Minister for Health. This omnibus bill covers a number of health issues, and as Shadow Minister for Women, I would like to comment particularly on the issues relating to the cosmetic surgery industry. Last year, a woman went into cardiac arrest and died while undergoing a botched breast surgery at a Sydney beauty salon. It was alleged that a Chinese tourist administered a local anaesthetic and breast filler to the deceased woman despite having no medical qualifications in Australia, and she was charged with recklessly...
The Minister rises on a point of order.
Actually, because I'm not going to cause you difficulty, I'm just going to save you bacon or something off the record.
Minister.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I just remind the member that there are criminal charges. I don't have a problem with you saying, just be very careful what's being said, because criminal charges, so just keep it to a bare minimum. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker and Minister. Since 2015, we have had this death last year and a number of other high-profile incidents in the cosmetic industry, including women being hospitalised with heart problems during breast enlargements at so-called shopping centre clinics. While the bill before the House today enacts one of the recommendations of the New South Wales Health Review of the Regulation of Cosmetic Procedures released on April 28 by responding to Recommendation 27, we have not heard from the Health Minister about Recommendation 4 of the review regarding misuse of the title cosmetic surgeon. It is still possible to call oneself a cosmetic surgeon despite only having the most basic medical qualifications. Recommendation 4 of the review called on the Minister to raise the issue of protecting the title cosmetic surgeon with the COAG Health Council, and I asked the Minister to respond on this issue in his reply. Given the seriousness of the deaths and critical incidents that have been raised and have led to this bill, it's important that we act to ensure that women particularly are not duped into breast augmentation and or reduction surgery by those who are not properly qualified. And I want to make particular mention here about breast cancer survivors and mastectomy and reconstructions, because this is an area, as someone who's a carrier of the breast cancer gene, I have a lot of knowledge of on a personal level from people who are in that same genetic space as I am. And I think there are some learnings and some lessons to be learnt from the work that's been done with breast cancer survivors in mastectomy and reconstructions that should really inform our position on how we deal with cosmetic surgery. Numbers of people that I know who have been through the process of having breast cancer and then afterwards going through a reconstructive mastectomy and reconstruction have had to go quite lengthy psychological counselling, and where they haven't, there have been serious psychological disorders and harm caused to them by the fact that their bodies have changed in such a way, and expectations of returning to health or returning to a particular body size, shape or physique have not eventuated. And this is with very qualified plastic surgeons who have done many of these operations. And even just expectations about recovery times and what people will look like when they go. And we have to remember, Mr Temporary Speaker, that when we're talking about things like breast reconstructions and breast augmentations and reductions, we are really going for many women to the very heart of their psychosocial self-identification and how they feel about themselves in that way. So that is a very serious kind of part of someone's identity to be mucking around with, and we need to make sure that people who do that are eminently qualified to be both doctors and surgeons and to understand not just the physiological and medical aspects of what they're doing, but also to be able to give those women appropriate counselling and to really understand what is going to happen to them. Mr Temporary Speaker, cosmetic surgery is now a $1 billion industry in Australia. It eclipses the US for per capita spending, here with tens of thousands of procedures such as Botox, breast augmentation and liposuction being performed to the tune of some $350 million every year. The top 5 most popular procedures are anti-wrinkle injection, fillers, lasers and IPL, breast augmentation and reduction and liposuction. An investigation by the Daily Telegraph, Annabelle Hennessy, a journalist, wrote of women as young as 21, being urged by clinics to start Botox as a preventative measure, and by the time the lines appear, it is too late, to quote her. Women in our society are prey to being judged on their appearances from a very early age. We see a range of medical issues arise in the area of body dysmorphia and eating disorders such as anorexia nervosa and bulimia. A 2011 study of 619 Australian university students found that approximately 2/3 of the sample were concerned about an aspect of their appearance, with 1/3 of these individuals preoccupied by this concern. 14 participants in the study, or 2.3%, appeared to meet the criteria for body dysmorphic disorder. Female subjects demonstrated significantly greater dysmorphic concern than male subjects. This study suggests that appearance concerns are common amongst Australian university students, with approximately 1 in 50 fulfilling the criteria for a probable diagnosis of body dysmorphia disorder, and women are generally overrepresented in this area. I've spoken to many women's groups in the community in my role as Acting Shadow Minister for Women and the Shadow Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. There is something seriously wrong with our society where women feel undervalued and struggle for gender justice and to be seen as something more than their appearance. Tracy Spicer, the journalist, has written extensively on this in The Good Girl Stripped Bare, and talks of the pressure placed on her and on other people in industries to present their looks in a certain way. We need to be doing more about this. Tracy Spicer refers to the seminal work done by Naomi Wolf, American feminist who wrote The Beauty Myth, and the work that she has done to highlight the issues for women about appearance and how we have got to a stage in society where we have women looking to change their appearance so that they can be judged as more able to fulfil their roles and more able to be able to achieve success in life, whatever that looks like for them. So therefore, I again call on the government to focus on educating students from kindergarten right through to Year 12 on respect for relationships. We need to shape positive attitudes and behaviours towards women in society, so it doesn't matter how big your breasts are, how perfect your wrinkle-free face is, or any other number of issues, but we actually judge women on their skills, on their personalities, on the contribution they make to society, rather than such superfluous issues, which lead to such damaging, dangerous, and in times deathly consequences for them. I note even the member for Tweed was talking about, cosmetic clinics referring to their surgeries as just a refresh, like taking out the idea that it's even a medical procedure. Just today there was an announcement by Plan International of a map of Sydney produced to indicate hotspots for harassment and intimidation. We've heard from women from all professions about their experiences through the Me Too movement of being judged for their looks and treated in a different way. Mr Speaker, that is the main focus of my concerns on this. I think it's very important to make this legislation very strong, and I really urge the Minister to address that issue of the qualifications of those who would undertake to cut and to, in some cases, mutilate and even kill women who are seeking to conform to society's expectations. But I ask him in the context of his broader role as a senior minister in the government to really urge for respectful relationships education to start from kindergarten so we can arrest this culture, in fact an epidemic, of forcing women to change their looks in order to fit in. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
The question is that this bill be now read as